Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture. He's Michael Hamflett from WhatCulture. A very different news video from us today. And before we get into it, obviously a content warning. There will be discussions of alleged sexual assault in this news video after the news broke overnight that Vince McMahon has been accused of sex trafficking by a former member of his staff. Hamflett, you've got more on this.
Yeah, excuse the reading on here. We don't want to get any sort of details incorrect or make any mistakes along the way. The story was reported yesterday by the Wall Street Journal following the filing of a lawsuit from former WWE employee Janelle Grant. The lengthy suit documents in detail allegations of sexual, physical and emotional abuse by McMahon between dates in 2019 and 2022, throughout 2020 and 2021, and amidst promises of career advancement and gifts of varying financial nature, she was allegedly exploited and trafficked to other men in WWE. John Laurinaitis is named in the suit as one of those men, as well as a wrestler listed as, quote, WWE superstar.
There's a 67-page court document. It can be read on our website, whatculture.com, but obviously, again, a content warning and reader discretion is advised.
It's linked, so people can enter without,
The lawsuit goes into graphic detail of the multiple incidents and interactions between Grant, McMahon, Laurinaitis and others between early 2019 and their first meeting and their final encounter in 2022. It includes text messages and recollections of conversations with the above named, as well as interactions with unnamed and high-ranking employees listed as WWE Corporate Officer number 1, WWE Corporate Officer number 2, WWE Corporate Officer number 3, and WWE Corporate Officer number 4. That at various points throughout the suit may or may not have been aware of the ongoing charges and abuses.
Yeah, there is a lot to comb through. It's noted that in 2022, Mrs. Grant signed a non-disclosure agreement with Vince McMahon, agreeing to pay her $3 million not to discuss the relationship or disparage him or the organisation. Of course, you remember Vince McMahon resigned from WWE in July 2022 amidst other sexual harassment scandal and allegations and hush money payments, as reported then by the Wall Street Journal at the time. You may also recall that WWE were very public about the internal investigation with a panel that included Stephanie McMahon and Paul Levesque. The committee was put together to look into this internally, and then in November 2022, with Vince McMahon himself paying the costs, confirmed that there was no further sort of investigations they were going to make within the lawsuit, and this word is specific. The lawsuit refers to that entire process as, I quote, sham, and then also goes on to follow the specifics of the NDA and note that Vince McMahon no longer continued to pay the remaining amount of the original $3 million settlement.
Yes, so following on from the NDA, this lawsuit now looks to render the NDA invalid under state and federal law with payment of compensatory and punitive damages under other laws, including the Trafficking Victims Protection Act.
Yeah, of course, Vince McMahon, as of right now, is still the executive chairman of the TKO Group Holdings. Of course, he reinstalled himself quite controversially as the boss of WWE again in early 2023, following a quote that came out at the time that he felt he'd taken, quote, bad advice when he left in 2022. This was all ahead of, obviously, the massive merger between WWE and UFC around WrestleMania weekend, which is how now he holds that position within the TKO branding.
It was a coup, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. TKO, as a result, obviously were provided comment to Variety in the immediate aftermath of the lawsuit breaking. The quote read, "Mr. McMahon does not control TKO, nor does he oversee the day-to-day operations of WWE. While this matter predates our TKO executive team's tenure at the company, we take Ms. Grant's horrific allegations very seriously and addressing the matter internally."
There was also a representative of McMahon who issued a statement regarding all of these allegations to Deadline, saying this lawsuit is replete with lies, obscene made-up instances that never occurred, and a vindictive distortion of the truth. He will vigorously defend himself.
Yeah, and then finally, in response, obviously, I guess, to the responses in part, Post Wrestling's John Pollock posted on X last night a response that he was given permission to post from Ann Callis of the Holland law firm. They're the firm representing Miss Grant, the ones that have put this substantial legal document together. That statement in full reads, "Today's complaint seeks to hold accountable two WWE executives who sexually assaulted and trafficked plaintiff Janelle Grant, as well as the organisation that facilitated or turned a blind eye to the abuse and then swept it under the rug. She's an incredibly private and courageous person who has suffered deeply at the hands of Mr. McMahon and Mr. Laurinaitis. Ms. Grant hopes that a lawsuit will prevent other women from being victimised. The organisation is well aware of Mr. McMahon's history of depraved behaviour, and it's time they took responsibility for the misconduct of its leadership." And, you know, like, obviously the cliche cliche as it goes, but we can expect more on the
Yes.
story as it breaks and develops, and indeed even just follows through due legal process.
Yeah, normally with stories on the news, we'd sit here and discuss them. We're not going to do that today for obvious reasons. It's awful, the stuff that you've no doubt read on social media overnight. We've seen reactions from former wrestlers and reporters across wrestling giving their reaction to this news, and you may have even seen screenshots of text messages and what have you.
Yeah.
Well, just dreadful, abhorrent things to read, and it's not really our place to speculate anymore on that or speculate what direction this goes in. Obviously, we also won't be doing Twitter questions on today's video. But I should say we are going to put in the comment section below links to some amazing charities who do some fantastic work related to these issues, particularly, obviously, if you've been affected by some of the topics that we've discussed. Charities not just here in the UK, but obviously over in the US as well. And you've got some details about them.
Yeah, it's difficult when a story like this breaks in a space that, and I include us in this, one that we're not particularly that well catered to. There are experts in the field, there are people in places and, companies and outreaches for places where you can get all the information you need that isn't just confined to the pull down on your social media when you maybe see things you don't want to. As Bob mentioned, there's going to be links underneath this video if you do feel affected by that, one of which is for RAIN. That's a global charity, but it focuses especially on our viewers and listeners in America. Just to read RAIN's mission statement. They say RAIN is the nation's largest anti-sexual violence organisation. RAIN created and operates the National Sexual Assault Hotline in partnership with more than 1,000 local sexual assault providers across the United States and operates the DoD Safe Helpline for the Department of Defense. RAIN also carries out programs to prevent sexual violence, help survivors and ensure that perpetrators are brought to justice. Here in the UK, we obviously have the NHS. They have a link that again will be in the description below for help after sexual assault. It's basically a list of resources and a number of the sort of the key areas it discusses if it's something that you or anyone you know has been affected. It's things like where to get help. There are sexual assault referral centres dotted all over the country that you obviously may not know about unless you unfortunately need to. Descriptions of what indeed is sexual assault, matters of consent, crimes of spiking of forensic evidence, reporting assault to the police, and lots of really, really helpful links. Again, it's not a story that we sort of encounter much in the space, and it's not one to take lightly, and nobody really, I think, pretends to be expert in these fields, but there are definitely people out there that are and can help if you're watching this and feeling like you do need them.
Yeah, those charities do some fantastic work, and I should mention as well, actually, we've got our Royal Rumble stream, of course, on Saturday night, myself and Michael Hamflet, and any donations we get from that, 100% of our donations, we are going to make sure goes to RAIN to support this amazing cause off the back of this just disgraceful story, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, obviously we welcome joining us for that, but continue the conversation on if you're comfortable to. I suppose it's worth obviously following up from all of this. How best do you see fit, and we hope that some of those services can offer the support if you need it.
Believe survivors. That's the most important thing.
Absolutely.
Right, thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon.